The bus screeched to a halt on the corner of a narrow street in Kyiv, its rusty door creaking open like the mouth of something hungry. Men in uniforms stepped down, their boots striking the pavement with a rhythm that froze conversations mid-sentence. People in the marketplace glanced nervously at one another. They all knew what this meant. Yermak stood among them, clutching a bag of fresh bread for his mother. His hands trembled, though he tried to steady them by tightening his grip on the paper bag. At 31, he was no stranger to fear, but the sudden appearance of the olive-green recruitment bus made his stomach churn. "Documents," barked a soldier, his voice slicing through the morning air. The crowd shifted uneasily. Some men quietly slipped away, disappearing between alleyways. Others froze, hoping not to be noticed. But Yermak had nowhere to run. One of the soldiers' eyes fell on him, and within seconds, they were standing face to face. "You. Show me your papers." Yermak fumbled inside his jacket, pulling out his identification card. The soldier studied it for a moment, then gave a sharp nod. "You're coming with us." "But, my mother," Yermak stammered. "She's sick. I'm the only one who cares for her, please." His words fell flat against the hardened expressions of the soldiers. With a firm grip on his arm, they led him toward the bus. He looked back one last time at the marketplace. A woman selling apples lowered her gaze. A baker wiped his hands nervously on his apron. No one spoke. No one dared. As Yermak climbed the metal steps of the bus, his chest tightened. Inside, rows of men sat in silence, their faces pale, their eyes filled with a mix of fear and resignation. The air was thick with the smell of sweat, leather, and dread. The door slammed shut, sealing them inside. Through the dirty window, Yermak could see the city slipping away, his city, his home. He whispered under his breath, almost instinctively, "Zelensky, help." The road stretched endlessly, and the bus rattled over potholes, carrying them farther from everything they knew. Yermak's thoughts spiraled back to his mother. She had been coughing more lately, her hands too weak to hold the teapot. Just that morning, he had promised her he'd return quickly with bread and medicine. Now, he had no idea when, or if, he'd ever see her again. Beside him sat a young man barely 20, his knees bouncing nervously. "First time?" he asked softly. Yermak nodded. The boy forced a smile, though his lips trembled. "Mine too. I was supposed to start university next month. Engineering. My mother cried when they came for me." Yermak swallowed hard, unsure what to say. He reached into the bag of bread he still carried, breaking a piece in half. He handed it to the boy. "Here, eat." The boy's eyes welled with tears. "Thank you." It was a small gesture, but in that moment, it meant everything. Hours passed. The bus finally pulled into a military training center surrounded by high fences and guarded gates. The men were ordered off, their names written down, their belongings searched. Yermak clung to the last loaf of bread until a soldier snatched it from him, tossing it aside. Inside the barracks, the recruits were lined up and given uniforms. The fabric smelled of dust and gun oil. Yermak slipped his arms through the sleeves, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on him like chains. That night, as the recruits lay on thin mattresses, whispers filled the room. Some prayed quietly. Others spoke of their families, their children, their lives left behind. Yermak listened, his heart heavy. When it was his turn to speak, he hesitated. Then, in a low voice, he said, "My mother is alone. If something happens to me, there will be no one to care for her." Silence followed. Then an older man across the room, his hair graying at the temples, spoke up. "What's her name?" "Helena," Yermak replied. The man nodded. "Write it down. Write her address too. If I survive, I'll find her. I'll make sure she's not alone." Yermak's throat tightened. He wanted to protest, to say it wasn't necessary, but the sincerity in the man's eyes silenced him. With trembling hands, Yermak scribbled his mother's name and address on a scrap of paper and handed it over. For the first time that day, he felt a flicker of hope. Days turned into weeks. Training was brutal. Marching in the mud, crawling under barbed wire, firing weapons until their shoulders ached. Many recruits stumbled, some collapsed. But amidst the exhaustion, small acts of kindness kept them going. A canteen of water shared. A word of encouragement whispered. A hand offered to lift someone from the ground. One evening, after a grueling day, Yermak sat alone, staring at the fading light beyond the fence. The young boy he had shared bread with came and sat beside him. "Do you think we'll make it?" the boy asked. Yermak didn't answer right away. He thought of his mother, of the man who had promised to look after her, of the fragile bond forming among strangers who had nothing in common except fear and duty. Finally, he said, "We have to." The boy nodded, leaning his head back against the wall. "I'll hold you to that." For the first time since being taken, Yermak allowed himself a small, tired smile.